All right, so are you ready to jump back into the world of Hello, Love, Goodbye?
I am.
Because this time we're taking a deep dive into the sequel, Hello, Love, Again.
Ooh.
5 years have passed since Joy and Ethan decided to go their separate ways.
Right.
Joy's off chasing dreams in Canada, Ethan is still in Hong Kong.
Right.
Can their love really endure all that time and distance?
That's a really good question.
I think so.
I mean, the sequel looks really interesting because it seems to be about so much more than just the romance.
Yeah.
It really seems to be exploring how people grow and change over time.
Yeah.
And how, like, those individual journeys
Right.
impact relationships.
Yeah, and I read Alden Richards, who plays Ethan, actually felt separation anxiety when they finished filming.
Really?
I know.
Wow.
That's got to tell you something about how much he was invested in this whole story, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It makes me think that we can expect a lot of emotional depth from this film. It's not just going to be like a lighthearted reunion.
Right.
It seems like we're really going to see them grappling with what it's like to reconnect after so many years.
After personal growth.
Yeah, and being apart.
Yeah, and the chemistry between Alden and Kathryn Bernardo.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently it's even more natural now than in the first film.
I can't wait to see that.
I know 5 years they've both evolved as actors and just as people in general.
As people, yeah.
So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out on screen.
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
like, how much do our personal experiences actually shape the way we love?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because they've been on completely different paths
Absolutely.
for the last 5 years.
Yes.
Will it still feel the same?
Right. And Kathryn Bernardo herself has said that this film is going to especially resonate with overseas Filipino workers.
Oh, interesting.
So it'll be really interesting to see how the film reflects those challenges and also the triumphs of pursuing dreams abroad.
That's a really important point to bring up because that ties right back into the themes of distance and change that the movie is exploring.
Right.
And, you know, so many Filipinos experience the heartache of being away from their loved ones while they're pursuing these opportunities overseas.
Right.
And so this film, I think, could offer some really interesting insight into the emotional toll that takes.
And it's interesting that this time the story unfolds in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Not Hong Kong, like in the original.
That's a big shift.
Huge.
Yeah, that shift in location is huge, I think.
I think so, too.
Because Canada becomes like this symbol of Joy's new life, her independence, her growth.
Yes.
It represents this fresh start.
Yeah.
A world away from Ethan and their past in Hong Kong.
So if they do reconnect, will Canada be a place where that love can rekindle?
Ooh.
Or will it highlight how much they've grown apart?
That's a good question.
Hello, Love, Again opens in the Philippines on November 13th. And in North America, November 15th, just 2 days later.
Awesome.
You can find showtimes online if you're interested.
Yeah.
But before we jump into any spoilers, I want to take a moment to think about this.
Okay.
If you were in Joy or Ethan's shoes after 5 years of being apart,
Right.
would you even want to rekindle that love?
That's the question at the heart of it all, isn't?
I think so.
It's not just about whether love can survive, but whether it should.
Right.
You know, sometimes people go in different directions.
Yeah.
And trying to go back might not be the best thing for either person.
Exactly. And from what Kathryn Bernardo and Alden Richards have said, it sounds like their characters have gone through some major transformations.
They have.
Since Hello, Love, Goodbye.
Especially Joy.
Yeah.
It seems like she's become much more mature and independent.
Right.
Really focused on building her life in Canada.
Which, in a way, mirrors the experiences of so many OFWs. Leaving home, adapting to a new culture, facing challenges, it inevitably shapes you.
It's almost like they're meeting from the first time all over again.
Yeah.
You know, they have this shared history, but they're essentially strangers in many ways.
Totally.
And that brings a whole new set of challenges to the table.
I have a feeling Kathy Garcia Molina, the director, is going to dive deep into that emotional complexity.
Oh, for sure.
Because she's known for portraying relationships in such a real and relatable way.
Definitely. And that's what makes this film so intriguing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about giving fans a happy ending. It's about really exploring those nuances of love and loss and growth and the choices we make.
Right.
At different points in our lives.
Okay, so we've got these two characters on their own paths, potentially reconnecting after years apart.
Right.
But what about the setting?
Yeah.
This time, we're switching gears to Canada.
And that shift in location is significant because Canada represents these new opportunities as fresh start for Joy.
Right.
It's a place where she's building a life independent of Ethan and everything that they shared in Hong Kong.
So it's almost like Canada becomes a symbol of her transformation.
Yes.
Of how far she's come, both geographically and personally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that new environment influences their dynamic.
Right.
Assuming they do.
Yeah.
Cross paths again.
Yeah.
Will Canada be a place where they can reconnect?
Right.
Or will it highlight just how much they've grown apart?
And let's not forget the visual element.
Oh, yeah.
From what we've seen in the trailers, Canada looks absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
Those mountain landscapes, the cityscape.
Wow.
It's going to add another layer of beauty to this film.
Visually, I think it's going to be a real treat for audiences.
Oh, for sure.
And on a thematic level, that vastness of the Canadian landscape could also symbolize that distance that's grown between Joy and Ethan.
Ooh, that's a good point, you know.
That's like the setting itself becomes a metaphor for their relationship.
Exactly.
And that brings us back to the central question.
Yeah.
Can love truly bridge any distance?
Well, we'll have to wait and see what the film reveals.
Yeah.
But I think Hello, Love, again, is going to offer some really powerful insights into the complexities of love and distance and the choices that we make in pursuit of, you know, both personal fulfillment and connection with others.
It's definitely a film that's going to spark a lot of conversation.
I think so.
And we're not just talking about romantic relationships.
Right.
This film seems to touch on these universal themes that anyone can relate to.
Yeah.
Whether you've experienced long-distance relationships or not.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it so compelling.
It's not just a love story. It's a story about life.
Yes.
About growth and the search for happiness.
Right.
Both individually and in connection with others. So before we move on to some of the early reactions to the film and what critics are saying, I want to pause here and ask you, our listener, a question.
Right.
Thinking back to those themes of growth and change that we talked about, what resonates most with you?
Yeah.
Is it the idea of rekindling a past love? Or maybe the way our life experiences shape who we are and how we connect with others?
Right.
Or perhaps the unique challenges of maintaining relationships across distances?
It's a good question to think about.
Yeah.
For sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the film seems to be touching on all of those.
Right.
And the early reactions have been overwhelmingly positive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really powerful question to consider.
Yeah.
Is it the idea of rekindling a past love?
Right.
Maybe the way our life experiences shape who we are and how we connect with others.
Yeah.
Or perhaps those unique challenges of maintaining relationships across distances.
Right.
The film seems to be touching on all of those.
Okay.
And early reactions have been overwhelmingly positive.
Well, that's interesting. What are critics saying?
One thing that keeps coming up
Yeah.
is the chemistry between Kathryn, Bernardo, and Alden Richards.
Okay.
Critics are saying that it feels even stronger than in Hello, Love, Goodbye.
Really? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, they've both talked about how much they've grown as actors and how their own personal journeys have kind of influenced the way they're portraying Joy and Ethan this time around.
Yeah.
So I guess that authenticity really translates to the screen, huh?
It seems so.
Yeah.
Reviewers are also highlighting the film's emotional depth.
Okay.
They're saying it moves beyond the typical romantic tropes.
Right.
And really digs into those complexities
Yeah.
of second chances and personal growth and the sacrifices that many Filipinos make when working abroad.
That sounds promising.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how director Kathy Garcia Molina handles those more serious themes alongside the romance. I mean, she's known for creating such heartwarming and relatable love stories.
She is.
But it sounds like she's exploring some deeper issues this time around.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And one thing that struck me is how the film seems to be acknowledging the very specific experiences of overseas Filipino workers.
Yeah.
You know, this is a group that often gets overlooked in mainstream media.
They do.
And it's refreshing to see their stories being represented in such a nuanced way.
You're right. And the film's setting in Canada
Yes.
seems to be a key part of that. It's not just a random location.
Right.
It represents a whole new world for Joy. A world of opportunities, but also of challenges and loneliness.
It highlights those trade-offs that many OFWs face.
Right.
You know, they go abroad seeking a better life. but often at the cost of being away from their loved one.
Right.
And that physical separation can sometimes lead to emotional distance as well.
It makes you wonder, can you ever truly go home again after you've changed so much?
Right.
And can a relationship survive when both people have been on such different journeys?
Those are some of the big questions the film seems to be asking.
Right.
And from what I've read, it doesn't offer easy answers.
Okay.
It really grapples with the complexities of these situations.
Yeah.
In a very honest and human way.
Now, we've talked a lot about the emotional side of the film.
Right.
But what about the soundtrack?
Oh.
Music played such a big role in Hello, Love, Goodbye.
It did.
Is there anything about the music in Hello, Love, Again that stands out to you?
Well, early reviews are suggesting that the soundtrack is just as powerful this time around.
Okay.
People are saying that it perfectly captures the mood and emotions of the story,
Right.
adding another layer to the viewing experience.
It's amazing how music can do that.
I know.
It can evoke nostalgia, heighten emotions, and even help us connect with the characters on a deeper level.
It's like a secret language that speaks directly to our hearts. And in a film like this, where emotions are running so high, the right soundtrack can make all the difference.
So it sounds like Hello, Love, Again is hitting all the right notes.
It seems so.
Both in terms of its emotional depth and its artistic execution.
Yeah, it's generating a lot of buzz.
Okay.
Not just among fans of the original, but also among those who are drawn to stories that explore the complexities of human relationships and the challenges we face in pursuing our dreams.
You know, it's interesting that both of these films are centered around Filipino characters and experiences.
Yeah.
But the themes they explore are so universal.
They are.
Love, loss, ambition, sacrifice. These are things that resonate with people from all walks of life.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their cultural background.
And that's the power of good storytelling.
It is.
It allows us to see ourselves in others.
Yeah.
To connect with experiences that might be different from our own.
Right.
And to gain new perspectives on the human condition.
And sometimes a film can even inspire us to ask ourselves some tough questions.
It can.
So before we wrap up,
I
want to pose one final question to you, our listener.
Yeah.
Imagine you had the opportunity to write a new chapter in Joy and Ethan's story.
Okay.
What would that chapter look like? Would it be a story of reconciliation? A story of letting go? Or maybe a story about finding happiness in unexpected places?
Right.
It's a question worth pondering, I think.
It is.
Especially as you get ready to experience Hello, Love again for yourself.
I love that question.
Yeah.
And it really underscores how this film goes beyond just a simple love story.
Right.
It challenges us to consider those different paths our lives can take and how our choices shape not only our own destinies, but also the relationships we hold dear.
You know, one thing that struck me about the trailers is how visually stunning they are.
Yeah.
The film really captures the beauty of Canada. Those wide open spaces, the vibrant cities. It's almost like a character in itself.
It seems very deliberate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the vastness of the Canadian landscape almost mirrors the emotional distance that's grown between Joy and Ethan.
Right. Yeah.
And it raises the question, can their love truly bridge that gap?
That's a really insightful observation.
Thank you.
Like the setting itself becomes a metaphor for the challenges they face in reconnecting. And I'm so curious to see how the director uses those visuals to heighten the emotional impact of the story.
Me too.
Yeah.
And speaking of impact,
Yeah.
early reviews are suggesting that this film is going to stay with viewers
Really?
long after the credits roll.
Wow.
It's sparking these conversations about love's second chances and the choices we make in pursuing our dreams.
I think that's a testament to the power of authentic storytelling.
I agree.
You know, when a film feels real and relatable, it can move us in ways we don't expect.
For sure.
And it sounds like Hello, Love, Again is doing just that.
I think so.
It's taking a familiar premise, second chance romance, and infusing it with depth, complexity, and a unique perspective that reflects the experiences of so many Filipinos around the world.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so compelling.
Right.
It's both a love story and a story about life.
Yeah.
Growth and the search for happiness on our own terms.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Hello, Love, Again, I'm curious, what are you most looking forward to seeing in this film? Is it the reunion of Joy and Ethan?
Okay.
The exploration of Filipino culture and the OFW experience, or maybe just the chance to get swept away by a beautifully told story.
Whatever your reason is for wanting to see this film, it's clear that Hello, Love, again, is more than just a sequel.
I agree.
It's a film that taps into something universal. The longing for connection, the challenges of growth, and the enduring power of love in all its forms.
That's beautiful.
It's a reminder that even when life takes us in different directions, sometimes fate offers us a second chance.
Right.
And it's up to us to decide whether to embrace it.
Well said. I think that's a great place to leave it.
It is.
Be sure to check out Hello, Love, again.
Yeah.
It opens in the Philippines on November 13th and in North America on November 15th.
I'm there.
All right. We'll see you next time for another deep...